to BJA's Best Practices in Reporting for the Death in Custody Reporting Act training. My name is Kerwin Henderson, and I am the TTA Specialist on BJA's Planning, Performance, and Impact team. We are happy you've joined us today. Today's session will focus on reporting requirements for DCRA, and we will address many of the FAQs you may have about DCRA reporting. Before we get started, I want you to know that this training is being recorded and will be posted on the BJA Multimedia page and the BJA YouTube channel. The links to both websites are posted in the chat and will be displayed at the end of today's presentation. This presentation will provide a brief overview of reporting requirements for the Death in Custody Reporting Act. We will spend the first few minutes of today introducing you to our PPI team, and I will provide a brief overview of the performance measurement tool. Then Dr. Laura Wyckoff, Program Specialist with BJA, will cover DCRA background and requirements, followed by analysts from our PPI team who will cover DCRA reporting. Our analysts will also provide a list of resources following today's presentation. We will then wrap today's presentation with a word from the National Criminal Justice Association about available state-level training and technical assistance for DCRA. We will then end today's training with a question and answer session. Once again, we encourage you all to ask all of your questions throughout today's presentation. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to our Planning, Performance, and Impact team, which is responsible for providing training and technical assistance for DCRA reporting. The Bureau of Justice Assistance PPI team provides wraparound training and technical assistance on data collection and analysis support to DCR grantees and federal staff from program inception to closeout. The PPI team is led by Dr. Laura Wyckoff, Program Specialist with BJA, who oversees the working vision for BJA's PPI team, and the PPI team consists of our PPI management team, which is responsible for setting team priorities and client coordination, our data analysis and performance measure team, which develops and revises performance measures and analyzes data to develop, report, and respond to data requests, our PMT help desk team, which assists grantees with PMT reporting issues, navigation, account creation, unlocking reports, and finally, the training and technical assistance team, which develops and conducts training for grantees and federal staff, similar to the training that you're listening to today. I also want to mention our special attention to our TTA team, as we have the ability to respond to your individual inquiries and training needs for DCRA. My contact information will be available at the end of this presentation if you have any questions about the assistance we can provide. Before we transition to the DCR overview, I first want to briefly talk about the Performance Management Tool. The Performance Management Tool, or PMT, is the online tool for collecting DCRA data. The PMT contains a lot of information and tools to assist you in your reporting. You are responsible for reporting data into an online questionnaire contained within the tool. You can access the PMT by logging into ojpsso.ojp.gov, and additional training on the PMT and submitting reports into Just Grants can be found at the links listed on the screen and will be distributed after today's presentation. As many of you have likely heard, the Just Grant system will eventually replace the PMT entirely. However, we are still within the window of transition for that. For DCRA, you should continue to report in the PMT until you receive information indicating otherwise. The timeline for this transition is unknown at this time. Now, I would like to transition to Dr. Wyckoff to speak about DCR background and requirements. So, Dr. Wyckoff?
Thank you, Kerwin. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from today. I want to briefly speak about DCRA and BJA's approach for DCRA performance reporting. Some of the items I talk about will be covered by other team members more in depth later in the presentation. So if you go ahead and look at the slide on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see that DCRA actually has an over 20-year history going back to when the original act was passed. As many of you are aware, before we, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, began this collection, the Bureau of Justice Statistics collected this data. In 2014, the act was reauthorized and slightly broadened. As a result of the new version of the act, a few years later, DCRA collection moved over to our organization, BJA. So let me transition and talk really about our collection here at BJA. DOJ, BJA is requiring the states, that's you all, to begin reporting, and we started this in 2019 as part of your JAG Award. So it is up to you, most of your state administrating agencies, to collect this data, this death and custody data from your local and state agencies on a quarterly basis. It is important for me to note that BJA refers to the act itself for really understanding the reasoning behind this collection and defining reportable deaths in custody. So let me take a minute to just read some of the information from the Act so you hear exactly what we refer to. Again, this is in our fact sheets and some of our other information that we provide as technical assistance. So the Death in Custody Reporting Act requires states to report to the Attorney General information regarding the death of any person who is detained, under arrest, or is in the process of being arrested, is en route to be incarcerated, or is incarcerated at a municipal or county jail, state prison, state-run boot camp prison that is contracted out by the state, any state or local contract facility, or other local or state correctional facility, including any juvenile facility. So that really gives you the context from the Act that we're drawing upon. We know that each of your states are different and the way you collect this data is different, but our goals are the same, to have a full and complete collection of the state and local mortality in correctional institutions and arrest-related deaths. So this includes deaths in custody that occur within jails, prisons, police organizations, and alike. And some states also have other centralized sources for these data other than the locals. So some of these states have coroner's offices and other centralized reporting systems. Regardless of how your state and how you are collecting this data, we're relying on you and your state to compile this information, including assuring that the data is of sound quality and complete. Our larger goals are also defined by the Act, which is to use our DOJ comprehensive research capacity to identify and develop solutions to avoid these in-custody deaths. Knowing the number of fatalities and the circumstances surrounding these fatalities are crucial to identifying and developing policies and program changes to reduce the number of in-custody fatalities. So this is why the data you're collecting and submitting is so very important. I want to stop there to let this soak in a bit and reinforce your work on this collection. Your work, your thoughtfulness around clean and comprehensive data is really appreciated and is part of this greater picture of saving lives. So I just want to stop there and say thank you for your role in this work. You're very well respected, and we appreciate you being part of this collection. We are here to work with you to fulfill these requirements. We want to see your state succeed in its DCRA collection so we can reach this goal of helping the field reduce these deaths in custody. We do want to reinforce that this collection is comprehensive. We are aware of that across all state, local law enforcement, jails, and prisons, as defined by the Act passed by Congress that I read a few moments ago. But I also want to mention that we've developed resources and we're providing assistance for you. To name just a few things that we've done, we've developed the DCR reporting capabilities in the performance management tool. We've created an upload function. We've created guidance with frequently asked questions, which we just recently updated. As well, we have the fact sheet, and we are conducting trainings like this one. Also, you'll hear later from the National Criminal Justice Association. They're our technical assistance partner who can also assist you in your endeavor to collect this data. All of the stuff we talk about, all of these resources are also linked on our webpage, which we'll show later. And you should feel free to take these resources and use them in your state to help with your collection from your local and state agencies. I also want to point out, you can reach out to me. My name is Dr. Laura Wyckoff. Please feel free to reach out. As you can tell, I'm pretty talkative, and I'm happy to try to help in any way I can. So I'm now going to pass the presentation off to Sam Wilcox. Sam is involved in our everyday management of your DCRA data that's coming into our house. And she has a really deep understanding of the collection and what we can do to improve this collection in the future. Thank you again for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Sam, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Laura. I will start out by outlining the DCRA reporting schedule. The first column highlights the quarterly reporting periods. The second column outlines what data are required during these reporting periods, which for DCRA are decedent records. Records for all reportable deaths occurring during the reporting period should be submitted, even if the manner of death is pending investigation. The records can always be updated later, even after the due date. The due dates for each reporting period are outlined in column 3. The DCRA data will pass through several checks during the submission process. Once the data is downloaded by the PPI team, an analyst will review each record for inconsistencies or missing information. If any problems are identified during the verification process, the help desk will follow up with the grantee and specify what the issue is and how it can be fixed. As a reminder, the DCRA data collection was developed in accordance with the DCRA law. The data collection forms were designed to collect the data required in the Act. The forms have also received OMB approval. I'll now go over the data collection requirements. Under DCRA, all deaths in a local or state correctional facility from all jurisdictions within the state must be reported, as well as deaths that occur during the process of arrest or while the decedent was under arrest. Please note that the DCRA authorizes a 10% penalty at the discretion of the Attorney General for noncompliance. DCRA data collection is tied to JAG reporting in the PMT. Therefore, the designee that will compile and report DCRA data on behalf of the state must have access to the PMT and be associated with JAG awards. States will need to establish their own procedures for collecting the required data elements from local and state law enforcement and correctional agencies. First, you will be asked if there was at least one reportable death in your state during the reporting period. If you do not have any decedent records to report, an affirmative no response is required. Please note, not applicable is no longer a valid selection as all JAG awards have been accepted. From here, you will click Save and Continue, and you'll enter the Decedent Information tab. At this time, you will begin to upload records. Decedent information can be entered one at a time or in bulk. Decedent records are presented as links with their name and agency or arresting jurisdiction. You can toggle between as you enter the data. Hitting Save will move you to the next decedent record, and Save and Continue moves you to the review page. Please refer to the training video linked at the end of this presentation for a step-by-step guide on how to use the bulk upload template. As you enter and save decedent information, the links will update to reflect the decedent's name and their associated agency. There will be times when decedent records need to be updated. For example, if a pending investigation has closed. In these cases, please do not create a new record. Instead, update the existing entry. To do so, it is preferred that the records are updated individually through the decedent's record link. Simply click on the decedent's name, update the required information, and hit Save and Continue. In the case that the records are updated using the bulk upload Excel template, the records must match on first name, last name, and date of birth in order to avoid duplicating in the template. Please ensure that this information is consistent if using this method. Otherwise, update the records individually. It is advised that grantees keep track of all unavailable investigation pending records. However, the help desk can provide a list of these records upon request. Please note, there is no set time frame for updating unavailable investigation pending records. However, these updates should be made as soon as the investigations are completed. The required data elements in the DCRA module track closely with what is required by law, include demographic information pertaining to name, gender, race, ethnicity, and birth year. Again, states will need to establish their own procedures for collecting this information from local and state law enforcement and correctional agencies. Selecting unknown for race or ethnicity, or entering 999 if the birth year is unknown, is acceptable. However, all efforts should be made to obtain this information and update the records accordingly. In addition to demographic information, location information is required. This includes date of death, time of death, and address of death. Please note that entering 00 is acceptable when the time of death is unknown. However, the help desk will reach out to confirm that this was not just entered in error. The location information section includes a question about the facility in which the death occurred. Facility types include municipal or county jails, state prisons, state-run boot camp prisons, any state or local contract facility, for example, a hospital, and any other state or local correctional facility, such as a juvenile facility. If the death did not occur in a facility, such as a death resulting from use of force by law enforcement, please select none of the above. After selecting the facility type, enter the name of the department or agency that detained, arrested, or was in process of arresting the decedent. The following manners of death are listed in the PMT. Please take this time to note that homicide refers to incidents between 2 or more incarcerated individuals, and therefore should not be selected if the death is the result of use of force by law enforcement or a corrections officer. If the manner of death is unavailable due to a pending investigation, please report the agency conducting the investigation and an approximate end date. When the investigation has concluded, please remember to update the existing entry with the newly identified manner of death. You can contact the PMT help desk to receive assistance in updating records. If the manner of death is not included in the listed options, please select Other and explain the cause of death. Please note that COVID-19 related deaths and overdose deaths should be coded as Other. The following is an example of how to write the brief circumstances leading up to death when manner of death is attributed to use of force by law enforcement. In general, we would like you to provide as much detail and be as specific as possible. Include the location and characteristics of the incident, who was involved, and if relevant, whether a weapon was present. Here's another example of how to write the brief circumstances, this time using natural causes as the manner of death. Simply saying that the decedent died of natural causes is not considered sufficient. We ask that you provide as much detail as possible. In this example, we see that the grantee has provided the who, what, when, where, and how regarding the decedent's cause of death. As previously mentioned, the data will be reviewed for inconsistencies and missing information. As such, the PMT help desk will conduct outreach if any data issues are identified. Federal staff will conduct outreach if states have reported 0 deaths through fiscal year 2021, or if states have not submitted any reports. NCJA will now discuss the kinds of TTA that they provide.
Thank you. My name is Matt Wade. I'm a program manager at the National Criminal Justice Association, and I'm here to talk a little bit about some of the work that we're doing in partnership with the BJA PPI team. Last week, some of you may have seen, we released a DCRA primer that went out that provides quite a bit of information. First, background on the Act, a current approach to how SAAs are reporting these deaths, and then some suggestions for moving forward. Among those are designating a staff lead and ideas for agency partners, both traditional and non-traditional. They also provide a link to a ton of resources that are provided by our partners at BJA. We'll also be highlighting best practices. Among those will glean from research that we have done through survey data and others highlighted by the BJA PPI team. We'll also be creating peer-to-peer SAA connections with our states who have improved their DCRA reporting. One of the features that we've also been working on recently are innovation labs. Currently, we're working on one that is the topic is data sharing and meeting federal reporting requirements. One of the outcomes of these innovation labs will be resources to share with SAAs, and we're happy to report that one of our first innovation labs will be highlighting best practices on DCRA. We're conducting more innovation labs on a variety of topics throughout 2022, and we're always here for a resource for our SAAs. To contact us with any additional questions, please email us at strategicplanning@ncja.org. Thank you.
NCJA team. In addition to the resources that NCJA provides as the DCRA TA provider, there are also online resources available to help you as you report your data on the BJA Performance Management website. I'll transition over briefly to show you how to access these resources. On the BJA Performance Management website, you can access specific resources if you click on the BJA Performance Measures link in the margin, over on the right-hand side. If you scroll down, you will see a drop-down for DCRA where you can access the DCRA Performance Measure Questionnaire, frequently asked questions, and data entry resources. I want to bring special attention to the DCRA Reporting Guide and FAQ document here, which has up-to-date guidance for DCRA. So the information discussed in today's presentation is also available in this guide. Additionally, here's the BJA PMT Help Desk contact information. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, except for federal holidays. We strive to return every email within 24 hours, so please don't hesitate to send us an email even after business hours. At this time, we'll transition to our Q&A session. So see, we have one question that's come in. Has the error in PMT been corrected for DCRA entry? We will follow up with you directly about that question to get some more information on the error that you're receiving for entering DCRA data into PMT. Thank you for that. Another question has come in. Can someone go over the information regarding state police collecting their own data? Jimmy, if you want to go ahead and take that question.
Thanks, Kerwin. And Laura can jump in as well if needed. What I can say is that, you know, I'm not sure what state you're from, but ultimately state police would be the record keepers for their own data. It would be up to you, the SAA or the Statistical Analysis Center within the SAA, to work directly with them to get some data sharing agreements in place so that they could share that information with you all, and then you can include it within your own reports. But that would be reportable data, and it should be included within your state records. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie. Laura, I didn't know if you wanted to follow up with anything.
No, agreed. But if you do have trouble, feel free to reach out to us individually. We'll try to coach you through some ideas. That goes for any of the states. And it is the case that each state's going to have their own unique data collection challenges.
Thanks, Laura. Another question that has come in, is DCRA data required to be entered into PMT prior to submitting other JAG reports? Liz, I know you're on. If you want to go ahead and take a stab at that.
So not exactly sure I understand the question completely, but yes, you are required to enter DCRA data quarterly into the PMT, and that will be pulled into your aggregate report that's due in January and July in a PDF that you can then upload into SUSGrant. Hope that helps.
I can jump in. This is Jimmy. I can jump in. And this question, I believe, was asked during the last session we had as it relates to DCRA, and fully understand and aware that that can cause some issues as it relates to some subgrantee reporting, because they're not able to access the reports yet, or you as a state SAA may not be able to start your actual JAG reporting yet until DCRA is submitted, and there's some issues as it relates to what order those should be done. And so that is a known issue, and it's something that we're going to continue to look at. So for the time being, yes, it continues to be that way. And as soon as a final decision is made as to whether that can be changed, we will certainly let you all know.
Thanks, Liz and Jimmy. The next question that has come in is the DCRA 1A form going to be updated? The current form has the expiration date of 6/30/21. Dr. Wyckoff, if you want to answer that question?
Yes, if you look on our website, we have the questionnaire up on our website, and the questionnaire has had an OMB clearance extended, and the new expiration date is on the website, and it runs through 24. And so we're good to go on that. And please refer to our website for all sources. I know that there are some random sources out there floating out in the universe that are not from our website. There was a questionnaire floating out there from some other government website that has nothing to do with us. It was a state government that is not our current questionnaire and has the old expiration date. So if you have that link, that's a little confusing as well. Thank you.
Another comment and question that has come in, gathering DCRA within 30 days at the end of each calendar quarter from every law enforcement and detention facility in the state, roughly over 200 in Utah, and then inputting it in PMT is very challenging. A better approach might be to gather DCRA annually with a 60 to 90-day PMT reporting period. Moving to annual PMT reporting of DCRA an option, while this will not solve all the problems associated with this data collect, it would be a step in the right direction. Dr. Wyckoff and Jimmy, if you both want to chime in on this one.
I'm happy to jump in on that one. I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Right now, we are doing things exactly how it's outlined in the Act. If you look at the Act for Death in Custody Reporting, it is outlined that we have to collect this information quarterly. So that's why we're collecting the information quarterly. So we understand the reporting burden, and I do love that you brought that up. We are aware of that. We do feel your pain, being that we're getting that information quarterly as well. I would also recommend to look at the upload function, which is also on the website, in which you can actually upload that information instead of entering it specifically and directly into the PMT. So that's my quick response to that. I'm also happy to talk with you on the phone in that regard. Jimmy, did you want to jump in and add anything else there?
No, I certainly understand the challenges. And, you know, we'll take what we can get when we can get it. There is that quarterly reporting requirement. But one thing I want to say as it relates to the next question, and I'll save Kerwin from Victoria. I believe, no, is it Victoria? Yes. You know, it looks like they missed a record from a previous reporting period. Yes, you can just go ahead and add that to your next report. You need to open up the old one and add it to the old one. You can just add it into your next quarterly report, one that's due now.
Thank you both. Next question has come in. The direction to report overdoses and COVID-19 deaths under other is new information. Is it okay to report this information as is going forward, or do we need to fix old records? Jimmy, if you want to answer that one.
Sure. Yes, we understand this is new guidance. It's new guidance because you know, we recognize this is an ongoing issue. You can go ahead and report this data moving forward. No need to go back and fix old records. We can identify those as long as the description is in there and code those as necessary.
Thank you. Next question, can you confirm that the Social Security number is no longer required? If we need to go back and update information that was pending investigation, we will confirm the individual by first name, last name, and date of birth. Jimmy, if you want to take that one as well.
Yep, that's correct. Social Security number is no longer within the PMT. That was removed after the first reporting period. So back in early 2020, I believe. And yes, you would identify and confirm an individual's identity by first, last, and DOB.
Next question has come in. We received our DCRA records from a few centralized sources. In terms of circumstances of death, we only have access to what is provided to us in the record extract by our sources. And the best practices highlighted, were you suggesting we revise the descriptions we are provided? What if we do not have access to sufficient detail to provide more clarity? Jimmy, this might be best for you as well.
Sure. You know, and as we said, and as Laura has alluded to a few times, certainly every state is going to have different challenges as it relates to collection of this data and how they get it from, you know, various state and local agencies. So what we are suggesting is, you know, these are the best practices. This is the type of information on a best case scenario that we would get from you all. And if you can work with those localized, centralized agencies and their databases to get, I don't want to say more complete, but maybe more detailed information, would certainly be something that we would look for. Laura, is there anything you'd want to add?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I want to add is really our ultimate goal for this is doing that research. So that detail actually is like gold. It's a really important detail. And as we keep alluding to, we know that the data collection at the state level to go to those locals is difficult. But just like we're helping you, and Jimmy just said this, just like we're helping you to understand our best practices and our needs, if you could take that to the locals as well, and we'll have some of these resources available that you can just pilfer from and try to push to those locals to help. And maybe if they understand how we're using this data and our ultimate goal, that'll help as well. But that's a really good question. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question that just come in. For brief circumstances of death, there was no direction provided initially in the data specifications about providing who, what, where, when. Are we expected to correct what has been already submitted or for reports going forward? Dr. Wyckoff, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I think we have to be thoughtful about, we are a learning approach right now. And just as Jimmy referred to before, we're trying to push forward with better data collection. If you have time to go back in there and make those changes, of course, please go ahead and feel free to do that. We can help you with that. But if it's something where we can start with this approach now, that's very helpful as well.
Thank you. Comment that has come in, hopefully the timing will be changed in relation to uploading DCRA being required prior to JAG update reports. It shortens the time we have to collect DCRA information, especially on deaths that occurred the end of the quarter. Dr. Wyckoff and Jimmy, if you want to react to that.
This is Laura, Dr. Wyckoff. Yes, we will look into that timing. We are very well aware of that, and just need to look into the decision-making around having that change. But thank you for reinforcing that.
Thank you. Next question that has come in. So if there was a death report that came in today for an incident in 2021, we will report it on the Q1 for 2022. Jamie, if you want to take a stab at that one.
Yes, if there was an incident that occurred that hadn't previously been reported today, you can report it in that. I guess it would be the current quarter, October through December Q1. But I want to back up to say the general guidance is report the reportable death as you learn about them, and in the quarters as you learn about them. Back reporting is something that you should do. You do not have to go in and open up old records. You can report them in the current reporting period, unless you're making changes to existing records. So, the general guidance is keep up to date, do it on a quarterly basis as best you can, but that does not necessarily mean to say you can't catch up on reporting, or as you learn about new deaths, put them in current quarters if they're older reportable incidents.
We'll take a couple more minutes to let some more questions filter in. As a reminder, please use the chat box function to submit your question to everyone so that we can all see, and we'll go ahead and read through those. Thank you. Come through. Want to concur that the reporting deadline doesn't allow for investigations to be completed for deaths that occurred at the end of the quarter, especially during this pandemic time when agencies are overloaded. Jimmy and Dr. Wyckoff, if you want to react to that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said before, you can report things, as you're learning about them, update records as needed, and back report them in later quarters, also when needed. I guess the general guidance ultimately is report on a quarterly basis and try to keep it as up to date as possible.
Yeah, this is Laura. Sorry, I was on double mute. I just want to reinforce that the cool thing about our performance measurement tool is it's a dynamic database. So it means that we're able to pull that data and look at it in different ways. So if you do find out something now that happened a year and a half ago, and you put it in for this current quarter, we're still able to bring that in and look at it from a couple of years ago and put it in with that lump of information that it needs to go to. But reinforcing what Jimmy has said, we have a lot of investigations pending, and we really would like to get those cleaned up. So if you can go back and fix those types of things, that would be very helpful.
I said we'll wait a couple. The comment has come in. The error in PMT appears to have been corrected. So thank you for that. We'll wait a couple more minutes for more comments and questions to come through. Keep it open a couple more minutes. So again, please use the chat function and send your message to everyone. Is there any plan to audit our records and send us red flag reports so that if there are outliers we miss updating, we can clean them up? Dr. Wyckoff, if you want to answer this one.
Yeah, so at this current stage, we have done a lot of cleaning. So I believe Sam went over our cleaning process where we look for strange things or missing data. So some of you might have already received a request from the help desk to go in and improve that information. We also are currently doing some interesting reflections on how you all the states are doing with reporting in the different types of buckets. By buckets, we mean, are you reporting from jails and prisons and law enforcement? And so we're trying to use that to help guide our TA to help you improve those processes and provide tools. So I think it's what your definition of audit is in regards to red flag reports. We might be taking a little bit of a softer approach in which we really want to help you improve your collection. We know that you have to set up an infrastructure at your local level, and that takes time. So we're trying to work with each of you individually depending on your needs, as well as do some of this broad overview technical assistance approach. So I hope that answers the question, Jennifer. And if you have more questions, feel free to reach out.
Excellent, and thank you for posting the contact information. Looks like another comment has come through, a follow-up to a previous comment. It would be more efficient for SAAs if we had more lag time, perhaps increase the time between when the quarter ends and when reports are due, rather than having to go through the help desk to reopen a report and go back to an earlier quarter. There would be less investigations pending at the onset. Jimmy and Dr. Wyckoff, if you want to react to that comment.
Hi, this is Laura. That's actually a great idea and very good feedback. Again, we don't have much control over the reporting just because it's based in the act itself that was passed by Congress, that it's quarterly and that the states are supposed to report from that past quarter. Totally agree with you about the pending. And I'm actually really happy you're giving this feedback because we do try to send this up the chain and provide this feedback to our leadership with hopes that it will make some changes to be positive for all of us. Other than that, the investigation is pending. I know that's still a difficulty at times. So, you know, I think it's just one of those challenges.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up, but I'll send it back to Dr. Wyckoff for a brief statement. So, Dr. Wyckoff.
Thanks, Kerwin. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. I know many of you are in different boats within our same big boat. Different states are at different levels of collection. Some states even have state laws to assist with this. And we are very aware of that. And I just also want to recognize we are at the beginning stages of this data collection. We've been doing it for about 2 years, and we've seen a significant improvement in each of these states, each of your states' data collection, and that's because of your commitment to this. We really do hope that we can have this goal of taking this data and using it for research and impacting the field in a positive way. So we want to be here to help you. Please feel free to reach out. We loved the question today. It helps us think and it helps us improve things for you. So thank you again for joining us. Reach out if you need us. Take our resources, pilfer them, and use them for your state. And please be in touch. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.